So hello and welcome back to another Improvement Season podcast. It is me, Pascal Steve. On the other end, it is Steve Hall. And I was even saying to Steve, like, oh, are you wearing a new jumper? And he was telling me, no, he was just like, it's an older one from Jackson Pierce's brand, Koshiro. And then Steve was telling me about his addiction for buying clothing. I think maybe it's a British thing because David Beckham was exactly like this based on his documentary. I don't know, Steve,
yeah,
what is it?
We're all just like David. We just copy David, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
To be fair, I have in my life, I don't know if, I think there's, I wonder, this is completely left field. I would say there's a spectrum of who you are as an individual. Some people will like go opposite to trends and they won't follow people. They won't like try and, I don't know, emulate people. And then there's other people that will really try and emulate people. Like they kind of copy them almost and they want to be like them. And then I think as you mature, you kind of maybe come somewhere towards the middle. But I know for me, like I always had people in my life I looked up to and I like tried to emulate them. I always come back to Matt Ogus when I think about fitness. Like I would follow 531 because he was doing it. I even remember he had like a hat that had like a banana on it or something. And I was like, I want that hat with a banana on it. And I would like try and find this freaking hat. I'd wear Converse in the gym because he was wearing Converse in the gym. So not that I'm following Beckham and anyone in particular at the moment, but I definitely used to be that way where I'd just follow the trends. I
mean, mostly this is just normal psychological human behavior because you want to belong to a certain community, and via clothing, via music, people express themselves. And especially when you are a younger adult or in your adolescence years, then you are more so drawn towards something like this to belong to a certain peer. However, when you're getting older, I think that you're then picking and choosing the things that you do enjoy, and you become something truly individual most of the time that just stands for yourself. But there's still somewhat of a crossing when it comes to certain things that we like. I myself, for example, I would actually say the person that I am, if I were to meet someone who is fairly similar to me, he's probably also into the same things, maybe wearing the same clothing, also because you are most often attracted to the same kind of people. I would just assume that this is the case.
Yeah, and then the only other thing I'll say is you do have those people, at least this is more in my radar when I'm like at school, who just like do everything counterculture. Like they always want to be different. Like they do it on purpose. Like they just don't want to fit in with anyone.
Yeah.
I've never been that sort of person so much. Whereas I think as I've got older, I don't mind being that way. I guess like even to a certain extent, tattoos are that way. They're a bit taboo still to some extent. Not really that much.
So this is something that I've talked about already in the past. This is not something that I'm proud of because I think that this creates some complications when it comes to social interactions and also for mental health, in my opinion. But whenever I'm participating at social events, like bigger social events, on the weekend, Katie and I, we were at this comedy event, which was more so driven by Katie because it was... So just to elaborate a little bit, it was an old friend of Katie's. They are not really in contact anymore though, and she got big, like massive. And we went to that event where it was also sold out, like a massive event, like Steve, a concert hall where she's now actually then giving her comedy shows. And I checked her out a little bit prior to the event, and I was like, I don't really want to go in there pre-biased and by that be disappointed or not having a great time, especially because Katie wants me to join her. So I went there and I simply don't feel comfortable, especially in huge crowds with lots of people around me. And we were also at that Christmas market, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I'm just walking around and I always feel like I don't belong. And that has been a theme for me personally since I can remember. And I always tried when I was younger, I tried to fit in, right? So I was jumping from one trend to the other in order or in hope that I can find something that sticks and kind of suits me. But I never really found anything, to be honest, right? To some extent that shaped me to the person that I am, but I always felt super, super weird in many aspects and contexts. And also that's not to say that I can't socialize, because I think that I can very much easily talk with people and chit chat, also due to the occupation that I had in the past, band member coming around and all that kind of stuff. It's just a skill that has been developed, but it's not that I have an amazing time doing so. And when walking around, Christmas market, and just many other things, which I don't need to name now, but many other things where I'm just like, I feel so detached from many things that the norm likes. And this is not to say like, oh, look at me, I'm special, I'm amazing because I'm so different than others. I don't pride myself with it, because I think that this makes things so much more complex and less joyful most of the time, because what other people enjoy, especially in a social gathering, is something that I don't enjoy. Right.
So did you feel at the comedy event, I'm assuming it wasn't that you were sat there with people feeling uncomfortable. It was more the fact that people found her funny and you're like, I don't get it. Like, I don't find this funny.
Yeah. So many things where I was just like, everyone was just like, there's always that person who screams and shouts when they are laughing, right? At those kind of events, there's always one person where you're just like, oh, giving her the looks or him the looks, when they're just like screaming in laughter. And everyone around me had such an amazing time. And I was feeling so misplaced there. And this isn't the first time. This happens in so many scenarios, but there it became very apparent because everyone was there for her. And believe me, not everyone was there because they booked the ticket, but maybe the friend booked the ticket, and everyone had a great time. And I was just sitting there thinking about certain jokes, and I thought like, man, I know what she's trying to say here, but I found this utterly ridiculous. And you can always go, and this is also there a downside. You don't have to dissect everything when someone is saying something. Sometimes things don't really need to make sense to be funny, for example, or when it comes to anime or some kind of movies, not everything needs to be real or a reflection of reality when it comes to certain superheroes also, right? In order to be great. And yet I'm always kind of picking apart those kind of things, also with the jokes, instead of just like accepting it and embracing it. No, XYZ, yada, 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 right? And this is just like going on in my head. And I simply didn't enjoy it, to be honest. And I wanted to, because Katie was there, and I didn't really want to give her the impression that I'm not having a great time. And I just want to leave and go home because that puts pressure on her. And I think that's not fair.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny because I definitely do that with some things and not other things. Some things I'll break down and dissect and I'll be like, oh, but other things I'll just sit back and enjoy and like just watch it for what it is. And I think more often than not, I'm that way. I'm not that analytical. I'm just there to just sit back and enjoy it. And I tend to enjoy it more that way. But I think you're more the other type of person that will dissect and break things down.
And once again, I just really want to hit it home. This is not something that you should be, at least I am not proud of this, because I think that you have a much, much harder time, socially speaking, finding joy and happiness with things. And I think that sometimes naivety, what is it on English?
Naivety, yeah.
Is a blessing. Because you can lean back and just take it as it is, instead of just thinking it to death and not having a great time. Once again, sometimes you don't really need to overthink things.
Yeah, I think it's funny, just as a side note where this has happened recently for me, because I spoke about tattoos. When I first got my first tattoo, I was very naive to the whole process. And in terms of like the artist to look for and like what I specifically want. But the more I've like got, and I know we've spoken about it, and I see more artists, I'm like, there's actually, of course, there's fucking levels to this where people, don't know, even create their own work and they're better and maybe they've got more experience and I don't know, they do the style you particularly like. So now, like I've had people reach out to me before with like, don't know, their tattoos or like other artists, and I'm like, they're like, oh, how amazing is this person? I'm like, X, Y, and Z isn't to my preference. And I don't say it to them, obviously. Yeah. But it's funny, like that's a recent thing for me. So I think it is that naivety to something sometimes. It's just you kind of go in. But also, as a side note, do you and Katie, when you watch something, don't know, funny or whatever, do you laugh at the same jokes? Do you laugh at the same instances within a film or a show?
So yeah, mostly
Okay.
because I love just hanging out with Katie. She's my best friend, you know, and it's also the other way around. And in the process of watching something together, we are then having just a great time because we are doing something together. I think that is a bigger part of the occasion than what it is that we are watching. However, that being said, when it comes to also their German comedy, and I know that Katie likes German comedy, I find German comedy absolutely awful. I can't recall. Oh no, there are kind of one or two instances where I would also have a great time because, like Helge Schneider, he's a jazz musician. He is pretty old already and has been in the field since ages. And he's kind of a stupid, creative character. He is, I would say, very smart and very talented, but he's not taking himself seriously in the creation of the art itself, so the comedy and also the music, right? He's a jazz musician and he creates kind of very funny tunes, for example. In that process, it's so stupid, but so smart that I have a great time most of the time. Or there's this other musician, for example, Alexander Marcos. It is such awful music, but at the same time, these tunes, they really stick with you, and the texts are so stupid that they are once again so amazing that I do enjoy it. These are the very few instances where I do enjoy something like this, but mostly the comedy that I do enjoy is something like, if you really want to hit it home, it's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. That's my style of humor.
Yes, only the reason I ask is because it's so, me and Charlotte will be watching something and I'll burst out laughing and she'll just be like, that wasn't funny. Like, it's not meant to be funny. Like, maybe it's not even meant to be funny, but I don't know. It's something.
Can you name an example?
Normally it's like, I don't know, when someone just like gets like slapped in the face just out of the blue and it's like it's meant to hurt them, and I'm just like, that's just so ridiculous. Whereas she's like, they just got hit in the face, and I'm like, yeah, it was hilarious. But then she'll laugh at, like, I don't know, the jokes that like, they're meant to be jokes, but I'm just like, it just wasn't funny enough to laugh about.
No, I can see this, but we are watching a lot of kind of trash TV, what I've said in the past already, and there we are having a great time because the stupidity and also sheer stupidity of most of the participants there, or protagonists, if you want to call it that. It's just on a level where everyone just can shake their head and laugh about it.
Absolutely. I don't know where to go from here. How did we even get into that discussion? That was like a complete
clothing, fitting in. I don't know. But what can be said, though, is that when it comes to also bodybuilding, if we want to make a clear transition into nutrition, into the mentality about kind of training, I don't really see the training the same as many of those camps, for example, especially the hardcore bodybuilding camp, right? And
not war.
Maybe...
War, a battle.
Yeah, exactly. For me personally, and I've said it in the past already, I find bodybuilding in itself is an utterly ridiculous thing, but at the same time, I love the sport. I've said it the last time, whereas other people take it very seriously, which is totally fine, but I can't really resonate with it. And I think that most people see themselves more so aligned with that hardcore mentality and being maybe something special, even though that they are not saying it out loudly, right? They pride themselves of being a little bit more muscular than the vast majority of people in the gym and all that kind of stuff. Whereas I'm just doing my own thing most of the time. And I don't need a training partner, for example. I don't need to be looked at when I'm training. I'm training early in the morning. There's no one around. So, and kind of it's very similar there as well. And I don't know how you feel about it. I would think that you're the same, Steve.
Yeah, I'm pretty similar. Yeah, I've only ever had a training partner when I was very early in like going through things, and I've had people try and kind of link up with me at various times to like continue to train together. I just really like doing it on my own, and even to the point like where I was telling you how like I don't really like. I record some of my sets and stuff, but I don't really like spending much time doing that. Like, I don't enjoy like vlogging a workout, for example. If I have a videographer coming around and following me for a session, it's not something I enjoy. Whereas I think some people kind of enjoy that, and that's almost more important to them than the session itself. But for me, I'm like, training is my thing. Like, that's the break in my day. That is like what I'm kind of obsessed with and what got me into the industry in the first place. I don't ever like anything that takes away from that. And sometimes to a detriment, I would presume, where I could benefit from, I don't know, the social media kind of outlet and kind of, I don't know, getting better footage and stuff like this. But man, I just love doing my thing and switching off and being like isolated within the moment. So for training for me is not like a social event. And so like now and then it's cool to do it. Like we train with clients or we meet up and we have a bit, but even if it's just you and me, we might chit chat for like, I don't know, 5 minutes within the whole workout, but it's mostly getting the shit done and then talk afterwards.
No, absolutely. And that's not to say that one is better than the other or more superior.
No,
or
it's just our preference, right?
Exactly. And that's the thing, right? None of these is morally superior or ethically superior or whatever you want to call it, right? And this is not like looking down on the people who do enjoy it, because if you're then ending up being in the gym, making some progress and improving your life, enhancing your life in what it is that you're doing, props for you, right? In how you approach it, I don't have to agree with it, right? And I don't need to, and no one else needs to, right? If you want to, I don't know, I don't know why, but I'm thinking about honking some donkeys in where is it, in Bolivia or so, or Mexico. Go ahead and do this. Maybe it's a cultural thing as well. It's not for me, and I'm not.
How do you honk a donkey?
Don't you know about this?
No, I don't.
This is so. Oh man,
why do you know about this?
70 minutes, and then we are talking about something like this. So I think it's either in Bolivia or somewhere in Mexico. I can't really fully recall where it is, but it's more of a cultural thing that in order to practice before actually then making love to a woman, you're practicing on a donkey. And that's not to say everyone in that country is doing it. But
why a donkey? Fuck.
I have no idea, Steve. Honestly,
I'm not
into the honky donkey business. So that's why I don't know. But there is, if you just Google this, you will find it. Right?
I'm not Googling this.
But it's besides the point. What I want to say with it is, if you have some kind of things that you do enjoy and do like, hey, go ahead and do so. Right? Not everyone needs to have or put their opinion on what it is that you are doing. And this is a typical thing on social media and on the internet, right? That everyone, and this is also something that I've said the last time, if you're feeling offended, the other person shouldn't really take care of you, but you are obligated to your, or what it is that you are offended to. And you need to deal with it, not the other people around you.
Yeah, I was going to loop it round to when you said you feel out of place sometimes. I imagine a lot of the listeners can relate to that. And I used to feel this way when I used to be in these situations more often. But like I imagine a lot of the listeners don't drink and socialize in the way that many others do. Like, I don't know about you, Pascal, but if I was to go to like a nightclub or something, I imagine there's some listeners, they love a nightclub. They love getting drunk. Like, that's fun to them. Maybe they don't do it all the time, whatever. Like, I can't even imagine wanting to do that. Like, staying out past midnight, being smashed the next day, hungover. It sounds awful to me.
That's
like, it just isn't. It was never. I used to do that, and that comes back to your point. I used to do it to fit in. I drink to fit in, and I'm not regretful of it. Like, it's fine. I've learned that I was doing that, but like, to think how often I did that to my own detriment, probably, and how I didn't really enjoy it just to fit in, just to like be part of the group. Kind of sad.
The question is then, though, isn't everyone doing it because of those reasons?
Yeah, I imagine many are, at least.
Because would you really drink and get totally hammered if you're just spending an evening by yourself at home? Unless you may have some drinking problems, of course, that is, right? But most of the time, when is it that you're starting drinking? Some people do at the age of, 14, 15 already, but most people have their first beverages or drinks at the age of 16, 17, 18, and have their first experience really getting hammered during that time. And why is it that you're doing that? Probably not by yourself at home, just to have a nice evening. No, it's alongside with friends and belonging to a certain group. And most of the time, it's not cool. In the moment it is. And you think that you have a great time, right? But actually, it really isn't. And that's why I think that it has also there more so to do with being a cultural thing. Because I think that in many other parts of the world, it is something that is simply unacceptable to just get wasted like this most of the time. And
not in the UK.
No, not in the UK. Also not in Germany, standard. That's for sure. I mean, just take a look at das Oktoberfest. So it is mental if you really think about it. Like the shit that is happening there and what is then publicly accepted in that time frame. It's just, I think, ridiculous as well. But that's beside the point. I think that most people do those kind of things and that kind of behavior because they want to belong to a certain group. And I think it's nothing that you should regret or be ashamed for because, especially in the younger years, you want to belong to a certain group. And the older you get, the more you're distancing from that because you're building your own kind of small community with your family. And then you're distancing yourself from that type of behavior. You want to go to bed earlier. You want to take care of your health. You don't really want to get hammered anymore. And yeah.
Pascal, I've got to ask. You've got some Oktoberfest stories, haven't you?
I've never been to the Oktoberfest.
You've not? No way. No. Because you like a beer, right?
I think beer tastes great.
As in you like the taste, yeah, because I don't like it. I never liked it. I would drink it just because, you know.
To be fair, though, because we have said, like, okay, we're not drinking any kind of alcohol. If that's the case, and I don't know how the beer culture in the UK is, then maybe you didn't have the right beverage.
Yeah, I don't know. I just drank whatever the fuck everyone else was drinking.
Because beer can taste very differently. Very, very differently. There are definitely some kind of sorts that I don't enjoy and don't like as well. And then there are some that, especially in the summertime, when it's very much cool, getting it down, it tastes actually great.
Okay. Can I then ask, have you been paralytic before?
Paralytic, like completely
lying
out
on the ground, yeah. Out.
Oh yeah. These were my
Unable to move yourself.
Yeah, I was that kind of guy at the age of 16 who was, I don't know why I did it. I think it was also because I wanted to be cool and wanted to get the attention because it always happened. I was the one getting kind of alcohol, even from my mom. I asked her whether she can buy me a bottle of whiskey. I mixed it with some orange juice and I was just drinking it like very, very quickly.
Like orange juice.
And then I was just out for the night. Like lying on the ground, puking and vomiting my entire soul out. Completely irresponsible behavior, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I was that guy. What about yourself?
I think I definitely did it at least once. My 18th was real bad. Like I got carried home and my sister had to pick me up in her car and I puked in her car. And I remember my dad being like disowning me. And the next day I was completely destroyed. But that's funny because that was definitely like I went along for the ride. I was very easily influenced, but it was definitely social. Like I would not have chosen people when it's your 18th, everyone's just buying you drinks and saying, yeah, shot it. And you just do everything. I can't remember fucking half the night. But it didn't happen too often. When I got to uni, like in that first year, I did it a lot. Then after, to be honest, who am I kidding? It was after my accident, everything changed. Basically, as once I had my accident, I couldn't have alcohol, and then I lost any sort of lust for it or want. And I also ended up becoming a bit of a social recluse because I then wasn't doing those things. And then that's where I found bodybuilding, to be honest. And it allowed me to, I think, find myself.
Yeah, and maybe this is a silver lining, right? Because so many people first experience it later in life when they have something like, especially because heart conditions are one of the number one, if not the number one, mortality risk diseases out there. That someone is having a heart attack or anything alike, and first then they are starting to take care of them when they saw the light of what could possibly happen, which basically is kind of what happened to you. Being hit by a van, it could have ended completely different.
Yeah. Yeah, man, now I'm thinking of, I've never thought about this, but you know, like how boxers, they obviously know that they're getting smacked in the head thousands of times. And so that definitely is going to lead to repercussions later in life where they're going to have brain injuries of some sort. I've never really thought about that for myself, of whether or not that one instance is going to hit me later in life. And it's only because we've been talking about death and mortality. And I'm like, oh, fuck. You're so ignorant to whether or not that might, you thought you were fully recovered from it. But what if it comes back to bite you? Yeah. Maybe that's why my memory is so bad for some things.
I mean, now we have an excuse to always
I'm
fall
disabled.
Back to. Right. Or you can do it intentionally when you have a fight with Charlotte, or when there's something that you needed to take care of and you can't be bothered. You can just like say, I totally forgot. Sorry for this. This must have been because of my accident back then.
It's such a great excuse. I haven't been using it for all this time, and now I've realized, oh, damn. But yeah, I used to drink. I don't know if I think you're a similar personality in terms of all or nothing. Yeah, definitely. You're very similar to me in that. And that was alcohol for me. It was like, I can't drink it and be social. I have to, like, I'm either smashed or I'm not smashed. So my like pre-drink was always like, what was it? 500 mils of vodka, like one of those, like not liter bottles of vodka, but I'd have a half all to myself, because I knew that would get me smashed. Yeah, it was a bad mentality.
Yeah, and maybe this is also then tying into what it is that I said earlier in regards to wanting to belong, wanting or feeling out of place. And because of that, it made things a little bit more cheerful, a little bit more enjoyable in the moment. Easier to and endure. Less weird for you, and easier to then, I don't know, let the time pass. As weird as it sounds.
Yeah. I don't know if I think you're more confident than I am at that age, but I also needed it for like, what's it called? Dutch courage.
Yeah, but also there, Steve, to be honest, I always thought that I was very, very confident back then, like at the age of 20 and early 20s. Now looking back, I wasn't. I really wasn't. If I had a conversation with me now, I was just that tiny little boy who tried to be cool, tried to fit in, wanted to be liked by anyone around me. And I didn't have confidence, because there are several moments where I'm just looking back, and I would love to relive that moment, to give the other person like very much shit for how they've talked to me and all that kind of stuff. And I think that everyone kind of can relate to situations like these, but these situations happened a lot of times. And I always thought that I was overly confident, but I wasn't.
Interesting.
And I also never really approached girls, for example. They always, I don't know, either it just happened, right? But I never really in a club or so, or when we were touring, I never really was the person seeing a girl approaching her or so. Never really happened.
I thought it just came to you. Like, I just thought it happened. I can remember just dancing in clubs, looking around and being like, I know one of these girls are going to come up to me. I look great. It's like, no, that doesn't happen.
Funny that you bring it up, because I was the same, Steve. And I think many people are. Right? They're just hoping for it to happen.
Doesn't happen.
And it never really happens.
For girls, it does. But I was similar to you. I don't think I can't remember ever, and maybe I was drunk and I did it. I can't remember ever approaching a girl, like chatting to them and asking for their number, for example. Not done that.
Either it happened like by pure accident, or it didn't happen at all. And I was always, and this explains a lot, because I had like 1 to 2 friends who were very, very confident, who weren't really the greatest looking, but they had so many hookups, and I was always questioning why he has all of the girls and I don't. And without sounding arrogant or so, but I was better looking than these individuals, and yet they ended up with all of the girls. And probably because they approached the girls and they were charming. They could talk, you know?
What's the saying is, like, if you don't put yourself in that situation to, like, I don't know, you can't earn money unless you do a job. Like, you can't get with a girl if you don't actually interact with one.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, it's a great saying.
I was listening, sorry, just on this note, because I think you'll find this interesting. I was listening to a podcast, again, The Modern Wisdom, I was apparently in the top 1% of his listeners, but I don't know what that really says because he's probably got a lot of listeners. But it was like there's this paradox in life between males and females where when we're younger, the women kind of have the power because women, like the prime focus often for their like people to be attracted to them is their like youth and their like looks and things like this. Whereas for guys, women are way more impressed by like their power or whatever, like the income they have and the whatever empire they're developing and those sort of things. And so the kind of women have power when we're younger, but as we get older, men only accumulate more wealth and they seem to be more powerful or whatever. Whereas women, unfortunately, as much as they try to fight aging, they're aging. So they tend to not look as beautiful. And so the kind of power dynamic shift towards us now in our 30s, going to 50s, 40s and 50s, not that it matters because we're in a long-term relationship.
Exactly, I just wanted to say.
But I just found it interesting. I'd never thought about it like that, how the women definitely have that kind of power dynamic when we're younger, but as we shift older, oh yeah, men kind of get it. So maybe that's why you get older men with younger women. I don't know.
I can't say anything to it because I have no idea about this. It sounds plausible, but also this, I don't know anything about. And that's why and as we've discussed in the past, only because something sounds plausible doesn't really mean that it's true.
Sure.
But it could be, makes sense. But I would also not be surprised if that's just something that has been told a lot of times and turns out to not be absolutely correct or true.
You're not getting all these girls in your DMs now?
No, unfortunately
just
not.
me.
No, just some kind of spam bots, business coaches and all that kind of stuff.
Copyright coaches, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I get fucking like 5 a day, I swear.
Right. No. And if it's a girl, then it is just a bot. Or basically a copywriter just using an avatar of a good-looking female, but it's actually kind of, I don't know, some guy sitting in a call shop in India or so.
Yeah, I know what you mean. The worst is they do stuff like, they make like good comments being like, I don't know, like, oh, this lift looked really good. Can you explain your technique? But I'm too smart for them now. I click on their profile and if it says copywriter, I delete it immediately. I'm like, I know you're trying this small talk to get into a chat so you can sell me your copywriting. I'm like, no.
Steve, if I'm already getting all of those kind of DMs on a regular basis, like I get flooded by that. I can't even imagine what it must be like for you.
Yeah, I get a lot.
And you guys, those people who think that it's not that bad, it is extremely bad. Extremely bad. There are so many people sometimes hooking you up and be like, and you can't really detect it at first, whether they are kind of copywriters or business coaches or so. And like, they are asking you for something about your coaching. And you're just like, wait a second, are you now asking me because you're interested in being coached, or are you asking because of your sales pitch? And then sometimes I even have to get back to them because I don't want to, I don't know, just reply as I normally do when someone is genuinely interested in coaching. But most of the time it turns out that they just want to run their sales pitch.
Yeah. This is why if anyone just DMs me and they're like, are you an online coach? ? I like, do you have coaching available? Yes. I'm just like,
this delete. Is the laziest approach of them all.
Yeah.
Are you an online coach? What? I mean, come on, eh?
I imagine some of the listeners get these DMs as well if they're like they're just everywhere flooding us. So maybe we should talk about fitness a bit more because I feel like we've gone a bit haywire.
Yeah, shit. We can already take a break now and then we will be back with fitness content. Do you not see the progress you would like? Are you sick of writing your own programs? Or perhaps you need some accountability in order to stick with a plan? Then it's time to start working with us. We at Revive Stronger offer a truly personalized coaching service. You'll get more than just an email with some macros or random cookie cutter program. With Revive Stronger, you will be the center of our attention. You will receive your own fully individualized training protocol alongside a customized nutritional strategy. We created the coaching around your needs, wants, personal preferences, and your own unique lifestyle. Every single week, we delve into your program in order to make appropriate adjustments so that we
we get the most out of your time and the best possible outcome. We help both female and male athletes to seriously change their body composition by adding more muscle mass and decreasing fat tissue. No matter if you're a competitive bodybuilder or just want to look better, if you need help with your progress and taking your physique to the next level, our coaching is for you. It's time to make a change. Sign up today and let's revive stronger.
So Steve, by the way, being back now, we've talked about your progress last week already, the lighting, the video that it did and all that kind of stuff. And I think that many people have seen your video and the picture by now as well. And you received a lot of feedback over on Instagram already. And I think also on the last YouTube vlog as well. We've been talking, sitting there shirtless, apparently. And many people like that, quite obviously.
You haven't watched it?
I haven't watched it. No, Steve. I'm sorry for that.
I'm topless, man. Come on.
Yeah, I know. But I've seen your naked glutes already. So why do I have to see you topless? Right?
Yeah.
I had more insight than other people. So when it comes to this, right? How does it make you feel now? When you receive that type of comments and feedbacks in comparison to what you also received in the past? Does it feel good now? Is it more kind of also satisfying, kind of also proving the haters and the people who doubted you in the past wrong?
It's a really good question. I haven't really thought about it before. I definitely do get joy from it. It's definitely nice to get comments, feedback on the physique, like positive comments like that. Like I'd definitely be lying to say that isn't kind of something that I really do enjoy, and it feels good for people to say that I'm looking great. Like it's really nice to have that, especially depending, it kind of a little bit depends on the person it comes from. So when someone like, I don't know, I know, you know, Evan Godby, for example, who comments on quite a lot, and he kind of was like, and I know he's the type of person who isn't just blowing smoke. If he disagrees with you or if he thinks differently to you, he will tell you. So if he's saying, and he's a pro heavyweight, like WMBF pro, I think he came 7th maybe, or anyway, he placed at WMBF World. So like he's a good experienced competitor, and him to go like, yeah, I think you are pro caliber, like stuff like that. It's like, oh, that's quite nice. Or if like a Jeff Alberts or like someone from 3DMJ were like, yeah, if they're like, yeah, I think this is looking good. This is like, you're on the right path, that sort of thing. When I get it from people who I don't know, it doesn't mean as much as you would expect.
Yeah.
So it is nice. What I will say is it doesn't change anything. Like if I got negative comments, positive comments, I've never really been one to focus on haters. So like, I know people will say it, like proving my haters wrong. I just don't get drive from that. Like I know there's people that in the past probably did hate on me a little bit or thought I didn't have the best physique or whatever it is.
Can I say something about this? Because I've recently heard a saying, and I've never heard it before, and it just made so much sense. And I very much like this approach of like, if you give too much time to, for example, a troll or a hater, he's paying rent with your mental space.
Living your head rent free, right?
And that's something that you don't want to allow. Right? And you are in control of it. And I very much like this approach. Right? Yeah. Because who cares? You know, who cares? But yeah, continue, please.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I've never got anything from that. Like, I don't know if there's people that go to the gym and they're like they're trying to hit a PR on hack squats and they think about this person that commented on their post. Like I remember David Goggins, he got all of his hate comments I do remember, spoke them into a tape or whatever, recorded himself, and he'd play this to himself to like give him motivation and drive. I'm like, that would just depress me, man. That maybe it would work to some extent, but I just get more from positive reinforcement. But ultimately, it's like I said, it wouldn't change anything. It's never changed anything when people weren't giving me props. I still worked as hard as I am now. Or if I got negative comments, I still work as hard as I am now. So it's nice, but it changes nothing for me.
I think
it just maybe, just one last point. Yeah. When I get it from people I really respect and I know and I trust, it gives me a little bit more hope. And I think that's useful for me. And I don't know why, but I guess it's just nice knowing that there are people that really do believe in me. So that's quite nice.
I think you can dissect it into many different ways and kind of small chunks and pieces. In regards to kind of driving motivation or getting motivation from it, probably it's not as important to you because you were the one who has worked for it all and you feel like you probably deserved it. And it didn't really come overnight, such as other people's success, for example. It happens overnight. They can't really handle it because they've never really learned it. Sometimes they start to question themselves. And it was more by luck that they actually reached their status. And they most of the time fade into irrelevancy very quickly again. And then they are starting to really fall into a hole because it's kind of that high and then falling down again. It's kind of the same statistic as with people who won the lottery or had a massive win, monetarily speaking. If it's then gone, even though that they are at the same spot where they've been at before the win, they are actually more dissatisfied and are unhappier, even though nothing really changed except for the time in between. And for you, it was more like a gradual increment in wealth, i.e. now your growth, and you were the one working forward. You know that you deserved it because you've been putting in the time and effort, and nothing really changes because it's just a long-term process that you have been working for. And now you just get the appreciation for it that is justified.
Yeah, it's kind of weird in a similar sense. Like, I don't know. For example, you could have some, and I think this actually probably speaks to what your point is quite well. You could have someone who their knowledge base doesn't change, but they run like a cycle for 2-3 years and suddenly they've gained 20, 30 pounds, whatever's, I don't know, like they gain way more muscle and now way more people pay attention to them. They get way more props. People think they're way more, they know much more than they did previously. It's like, actually, they haven't improved their knowledge base at all. Whereas if you slowly accrue that over time, like I could see that like you have way more confidence in yourself that actually, yeah, I do know my shit. Even though I knew it before, I've got even more confidence in it now because I've got way more experience and I've kind of proven it to myself that I also know it. Because I think similar to you, Pascal, like we deal with imposter syndrome. I don't know if you ever have clients who say this, but like I've had clients who are like, how do you deal with imposter syndrome? Or do you ever get it? I have that now and then. And like, I think a big part of kind of getting rid of imposter syndrome is just like looking back at where you've come from, where you've got to, how many people you've helped. And it's just like, hey, like there's proof in the pudding type of thing. Like it's given me a lot of confidence in my own progress. And having done that with clients, it's like, if I ever doubt myself, I just look back and I'm like, Steve, like there's just wealth of experience, like proof behind you that yeah, you are good, you do know what you're doing type of thing, which is nice.
Yeah, I can definitely see this, especially because you can make use of that because it's not just like this one thing that you can fall back to, but lots of different things. It is lots of achievements and accomplishments where it's not just like by random chance that you've been lucky and now you've made it or so, right? That you have only this one little thing to fall back to, and also that you are, I don't know, attached to, such as, and I think that this is probably a big problem with a lot of influencers nowadays, probably, and this is just an assumption of mine, that if they are only known for one specific thing, and that is, I don't know, their looks, for example, or something that they are normally always doing, and people are slowly getting sick of it, or the look is slowly fading and they are trying to stay relevant with plastic surgery, you can't stop that aging of time, and you can't stop what people are interested in and not so much interested in. Also there, you've talked about trends. What people are interested in, you see it, right? Like social media, there's always a different trend running. And that's why I think that many people are struggling. If they are only known for that one single thing and only relevant for that one single thing, they don't have anything else to back their relevancy up with. I think you're having a very hard time. And I think that this also applies then to your overall progress when you're telling, or when you're saying like, okay, I've been hitting the cycle for like 2 to 3 years, been blowing up, been someone like Sam Sulek. I've never really watched a thing of him. All of a sudden he pops up everywhere. Everyone is talking about him. But how long can he do this for?
Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah, it's funny, Sam, I wasn't aware of him until I think Mike did like a review of his training or something. And then that's the first time I'd seen his name. And now he's everywhere. And I have seen like a few reels of him where he's talking. I'm like, I can see why people like this guy. I do get it.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Like, he's super down to earth.
Yeah.
He seems very humble. And like, he's just like, it's like his gym journey. He's just working things out and going through it. And he's just got a personality that I think a lot of people like, and also a crazy physique. Like, if he was natty and half the size, like, no, he wouldn't get half the attention.
And that's what I mean, right? You're driven probably by your looks. And because of this, you have that pressure to basically grow,
Yes.
and always be that freak and always be the big and even more impressive year to year. And especially in that realm, I think it comes at a cost. And some people can carry that cost for longer because they have a bigger budget, and some people don't, right?
Yeah.
And there's definitely a limit to it. And the same kind of applies also to just when you're a very, very attractive person. Can you maintain that for the rest of your life and stay relevant with that? Most of the time, not.
Yeah. And then you have to, it's actually so weird because I don't know why it popped up, a reel of Paris Hilton, which I'm sure you'll know, like, known for her attractiveness and all of that. And I mean, she's actually in this reel, she looks still great, to be honest, but clearly she must have had a lot of work done to have maintained that youthful look. But apparently, I don't know anything about her, but apparently she's actually incredibly intelligent, and she like worked on lots of things in the background.
Yeah, she runs several businesses and all.
Yeah, exactly. And this is like, people like that are the ones that I think like they're doing it like quote unquote the right way, because they're thinking ahead of everything. Or I don't know, it's another example would be like going on Love Island. You come out, you've got 1 million followers. Like, what do you do with that following? Do you just continue being who you are, or do you try and, like, I don't know, create like a little business? Maybe you're fit and you're a personal trainer, and now you have like online coaching, something like this, or you create a brand because that works, whatever it is.
And how did you get to that point of 1 million followers? Was it because you've been, I don't know, sitting in the middle of the room taking a shit and everyone was just raving about it? Maybe, right? You've been so the people who are the loudest in those type of shows are most of the time who will be booked again for a different format.
Sure.
And are successful because they've been so controversial, because they've been so, I don't know, a certain figure, a certain character that they've played probably. And can you maintain this? And especially when you are in the early 20s, maybe you can do this for a couple of years. But at some time, you're also growing up. You're probably maturing as well in the process. And do you still want to be that person when you are 35, 40? Questionable, in my opinion, at least, right? For some people, it's the shit. But I find it, especially when we're talking about trash TV, I love something like Love Island. And I also love something like Temptation Island. What is it? Are You the One? And all that kind of shit. I love it. But these people, they are at their early 20s. So they are forgiven to do ridiculous things. They are still young. They can get away with it. Let them do those ridiculous, stupid shit, right? Everyone did it. However, when you are a what is a C-star celebrity? I don't know what it's called in English, but when you are very much low rating celebrity and you're still participating at those type of formats and you're already 50, you're starting to become a very sad and miserable being in my eyes. Like, honestly, like there are a couple of characters in Germany, because German VIPs are. Do you know Hunger Games, right, Steve?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know those rich people there, how they dress and all that kind of stuff. This is what German VIP area and environment looks like. Like, honestly, I can send you some pictures. It is ridiculous. This is what it looks like, and those people also then participate at those social, those reality TV shows, and it is so sad to watch. It's not even entertaining me anymore, and this is that type of content that I can't watch because this is just too much for me. When they're like a bunch of 20-year-olds getting hammered, kissing around, having kind of fights and all that kind of stuff, fair enough, you know. But if they are now all of a sudden 50 and it looks like as if my mom is doing this, it becomes a little bit of a joke.
I'm going to flip back to
Training
social
and
media
nutrition.
a little bit. This has just been on my mind because I've never done. We've talked about this before on social media. Easy way to grow is to like have takes on things, and I don't know. You do that, the green screen with their clip in the background, and you're basically critiquing it or whatever. And the first time I've actually considered doing something similar to this was someone did a reel, and he was doing it to someone else, and it was basically showing like a physique, a natural who'd been training for 13 years versus, I don't know, someone who'd been training 2. And the guy came in and was like,
I've seen this.
oh,
I
have
think.
you?
Yeah.
The guy, see if it's the same one. The guy came in and was like, I wouldn't want that after 13 years. Like, who the fuck wants to spend 13 years to look like that when I can do it in like, I don't know, months taking gear? And it was just like, he's like clearly in his early 20s. And there's quite a few guys like this who have on gear. They're young in their 20s, maybe even in teens. They've got a great physique that looks like they've been training 10 years naturally. And they are like really promoting steroids. And it doesn't seem like they're talking about any of the negatives. And it's the first time where I've looked at it, I've been like, man, that's so short-sighted to just think like they're literally, the only thing they're worried about is that outcome. And we've talked about it so many times where it's, for us, we bodybuild. Yeah, the outcome's nice. And that was what maybe initially got us into the gym. But we certainly didn't stick around because of the results so much. It was more the process and the other areas of life that it's like contributed to and bettered us as a person. It was just like, he was like, I haven't got time to wait around for 13 years to get a physique like that. I want to do it in months and then I'll move on to the next thing. And I kind of get where he's coming from, but I just think it's a bit short-sighted. And as like a early 20-year-old, like I can't help but think he may have regrets, and especially popularizing it like that. It just felt so like I haven't done the video take on it, but it just felt wrong. Is that the one you saw as well?
No, but to just talk about that point, I think that this is a common phenomenon when it comes to social media in general. There are so many things, so many areas that we are even unaware of, Steve, that are very questionable. Also then kind of drug usage, not just steroids, but drug usage in general. Also, there is a movement called pro-ana, for example, which is for...
is it anorexia?
Yeah. Pro-anorexia movements. Something like this, you know. And when you're sucked into that community and into the algorithm, then you are being fed with that kind of stuff more and more so, which can be quite, have severe consequences later down the line.
Right.
Exactly.
If you spend hours looking at your phone, that's your life.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that for the upcoming generations, it's even more severe than it is even for us, because we are the generation who experience both, right?
Yeah.
So a life without and a life with it. And we can already see the potential downside to those kind of things. But if you're just growing up in that environment alone, it is very hard to then have that critical thinking skill, because you don't know anything else, basically, you know? And also alongside that, if you are growing up in right now our world, where we are in a dire situation when it comes to global economic situation, lots of different conflicts, climate change, basically it's just doom everywhere we are watching, and hope is basically non-existent. I can understand why you have then that sentiment and that thought process of like, why shouldn't I do this? Because in 20 to 30 years, everything will go downhill anyway, right? We're at the brink of destruction of human society already now. So why the hell shouldn't I, you know? And if everything is just like doom and fear-mongering and you have to live now, you have to be successful now, right? Then I can see why people are drawn towards that. And the same then once again goes also again back to kind of physique improvements and wanting now becoming better and all that kind of stuff, and especially when it's then accompanied with maybe even attention and success.
Yeah, it's scary. Like it's, I guess it's like social media. It really rewards that short term like dopamine hit, and so like the more extreme your content, the more different it is, the more it stands out, the better it's going to do. So that's what, can you remember there was this awful trend? This was years ago. It was like they'd slap people from behind or something. I can't remember what it was called. They'd literally film someone slapping someone from behind, and it was like this trend that went round and it went viral like on social media. But it like shit like that, it's just kind of crazy. But it's kind of, I know we've spoken about just how like steroids are becoming a joke on social media and people aren't taking it seriously at all. The number of accounts I've seen where I'm just scrolling through accounts probably like his, it's like they're talking about how they didn't take their nutrition and training seriously until they got on gear. Like how they've grown so much over the last year, not because of the steroids they're on, because they learned so much more about training and nutrition. Even actually Chris Bumstead said that he's reduced his gear over the years because he's learned more and more about training and nutrition.
Oh, really? He did?
And I almost commented on it. I was like, I'm not going to, because I'm just going to get all the haters on me, because Chris is great. And I think he's a great role model. But I wish he just like ended that reel saying, maybe he said it in the YouTube video if it came from that, like, guys, this is a good reason to get that education first before you go on to gear. Because if you do it the other way around, like you're in for a bad time, you're getting a bad trade-off of risk versus reward. Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm coming from.
Yeah, the problem is always, I think that people want to see what it is that they want to see, and they can always then cherry pick that one single event where it didn't really have any kind of dire or potential negative consequences for certain individuals, or they are just measuring the consequences in the present instead of what may happen in the future. Only because you feel good right now doesn't mean that you can't develop cancer or so in the future, you know? I hope that we both get spared from something like this, and we can live the healthiest lifestyle ever and still get massively sick, you know? And you're just increasing the chances that something is happening to you. And even though that you're feeling good right now, it doesn't mean that it's then better in the future. And if you're then going into an echo chamber like this, you most of the time won't be heard. That's the unfortunate thing.
What's the book? Is it like What You See Is All There Is like the book?
Oh, I don't know of this one.
I think that's the book, but it's so often the title of the book tells you everything about you need to know. What you see is all there is. Duh. Like, it's like, because that's where, what's his name? The guy who has a shaved head, Will glasses, like he was a past boxer. Why have I forgotten his name? Tate.
All right.
Andrew Tate, that's the one. Why did his name just pass from me? He's like died off, but he was like, I'm going to help you see through the matrix, blah, blah, blah. It's all of this, which is just it's funny to think about.
No, absolutely.
I don't know have we got any time to talk about where you're at with your training?
5 minutes.
Just come out of your deload?
Yeah. First sessions in the book. I have to extend this message. So that's the plan now moving forward, because at the end of the month, we will go on a very short trip just over the new year, because I can't be bothered having fireworks around me. I'm that old already. That's why we are leaving Berlin very much to the countryside, so that there aren't any kind of fireworks. And then we are coming back after like 3 days or so. And then at the beginning of February, we are going on our annual snowboarding trip. This year or next year, I will participate though, because this year, so 2023, I couldn't because of Kayo, the dog. And next year is then that I'm finally once again able to participate. And I really do hope, like you said, I don't get injured. That's the main thing, because Katie and I, we have the luxury of being able to go on another snowboarding trip 1.5 months later. It's something that Katie's parents kind of allowed us to do. So they are taking care of the kids for like 5 days, which is perfect. So we are going on a short trip down to Austria another time. And that's why I really want to be careful not to get injured, and also just due to training, because my right ankle is still fucked from the last time.
Oh, really? Fuck.
Yeah. And it will never really be the same again. I can
that bad?
I can promise you that.
Man, maybe I don't want to go snowboarding.
Yeah.
I've never been skiing or snowboarding.
Yeah,
so
it's awful.
It's a bucket list thing, though. I got to do it.
It's awful.
Oh, damn, that's exciting.
Yeah, and that's why the entire mesocycle right now is scheduled in a way that I have now to a kind of like an 8-week mesocycle in front of me. The way that I'm doing it, though, is that I'm artificially extending it. So
we've talked about this before, right?
Yeah, I throw in a couple of more rest days. So the way that I'm doing it then right now is push, pull, legs, rest. Push, pull, legs, rest. Push, pull, legs, rest. What I normally not do, I've just thought about it in the past of maybe incorporating something like this, but I never did it in the past. And this way, I'm just like already adding so so many more rest days. And then over the Christmas time, maybe I will add like 2 days of rest. And then especially over the new year when we are away, 3 days of rest. And this way, it should allow me to extend it all the way to that point. And if I need to, and this is just something that I keep on my back pocket as an option, I could still take like 3 to 4 days of rest and do something like a mini deload just to reduce the fatigue enough so that I can push all the way then to the holiday. What do you think about this, Steve?
Yeah, that's that thought of the mini deload there. I was like, if all else fails, you can just like remove a chunk of fatigue once you've kind of got a bit overreached and you all have bought yourself, maybe not, you're not going to bought yourself a whole mesocycle, but you've bought yourself at least a week, 2 of quality training there. So I think that makes complete sense to me. Yeah, it's exciting that you're going on a couple of skiing trips. I definitely, I want to next year make sure. Actually, I already have one. I don't know if I've spoken about it here. I've spoken it to you. I've got that. What's it called? The cruise in February, which I still haven't wrapped my head around properly because the dog. That's the main problem for me right now. Like, who's going to look after the dog for 10 days? Yeah. Who do I trust?
Is it hard in London? Because here around us, because we are also living close to forests and all that kind of stuff, there are a couple of people, kind of like a dog hotel.
I need to properly look. It sounds so stupid, but I am so emotionally attached to this dog that like I need to trust the people, and like if anything happened, I would just blame myself. Like if she,
isn't the option of taking her with you.
Oh no, yeah, she wouldn't be able to come to. I don't think they allow dogs on the cruise. Unfortunately, that would be pretty cool. I would just take her with us. Come fly. She could sit on my lap. She'd make me calm throughout the trip. Oh, that would be really cool. But yeah, that's the main thing. But the ship, I've already looked at the gym on the ship because it has a gym. It doesn't really, I don't think it has a Smith or barbells, but it has like some dumbbells and like a cable machine and a few machines. I'm like, I'll make that work. It'll kind of be fun to do that for like, I don't know, a week or so.
That's the beautiful thing, isn't it, Steve? That with also knowledge and experience, you just learn that you can easily make those kind of environments work as well. Whereas in the past, I was always freaking out about something like this.
I'd be like, I need a barbell.
Yeah, exactly. And now you just know that, for example, if you are getting close enough to failure, you can even make it work with just like push-ups, split squats, stuff like this.
Especially with the BFR cuffs, actually. If I chuck those on,
that's true.
Brutal workout in no time.
Yeah.
Cool. Somehow we could probably keep talking for way too long because there's so many thoughts. The thing is,
and this is something that I just want to say and give a shout out to everyone who's listening and has given us great feedback over the past couple of weeks, actually, because more and more people comment underneath that they do appreciate the Improvement Season podcast, which is something that we in return, of course, very much appreciate, because we've said it in the past already a couple of times. We've been doing this since the beginning of 2017 on a weekly basis. I can't recall if we ever really missed a week. It could be that we needed to exchange one of us, but I can't even recall whether we've missed a week. And just having this been running since such a long time and having people listening to us on a weekly basis and appreciating the entire journey and even just the rambles that we're putting out, it's so cool. It's so rewarding to hear. And I totally also get that the way that we are doing this podcast is just an easy listen. You can listen to it while you're commuting, while you're doing something else even. You don't really need to sit down with a notebook, taking some notes in order then to actually take something away from the podcast. This is more like, hey, we're talking about what it is that we're experiencing, what's going on in our lives, the lessons that we are learning. And sometimes you may resonate with it and sometimes you may not, right? And you may still be able to participate in a communication and discourse. And this is something that I'm truly grateful for. So thank you very much, guys.
I concur everything you said there. That was that one comment that you shared over on Instagram. I also saw it come up on my emails, which I was going to respond to, but I think you've already responded to it, which is great. It said everything you just said there, where they've just enjoyed like just chilling with us, hearing our thoughts, feelings, and yeah, it's nice to know that people enjoy this. And I like that it is quite different from the main podcast because like, again, that's not always the easiest listen, whereas this should be therefore much easier. And like you have in the background, I know I enjoy these sort of podcasts with people that do those. So it's very much appreciated to know people are appreciating that. So thank you very much.
I myself as well. And Tanya, for example, she's very much the same as me. I have something on my ears, and this is something that I've even talked to you about, Steve, that no matter what I'm doing and where I'm going, I always listen to something, which is not always the best thing because you're constantly bombarding yourself with information and impressions and sounds that your mind needs to actually work through. But it's just me. And I have I can't even recall how many hours I have throughout the year on Spotify. And then I'm watching some YouTube podcasts as well. But many times I would love to just have something that is easy to listen to and not just like the most complex financial person who's talking through macroeconomic events and all that kind of shit, you know? So yeah, I can understand why people may enjoy it.
Just something you can have on in the background.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a giggle here or there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Guys, thank you so much for listening. As always, please do comment if you are enjoying it. If you've got any kind of things you'd like us to cover in specifics or any questions, we look at the comments. So I appreciate that. Any thumbs up, rate us over on Spotify. It's so easy to do it on Spotify if you're listening. You can just click 5 stars. Has to be 5. Well, you could do 4. I'm not too sad about it. So that's great.
Otherwise, it looks fake if it's just like 5-star ratings. But I mean, we have like 1-star ratings from the past as well. So yeah.
On Spotify, I don't even know if you can dig into, like, it's just a average rating. Yeah. I did look on Apple recently. We haven't had ratings on there for ages. The last one was like 2019 or something.
Yeah, but I'm not listening to over on iTunes anymore anyway.
I don't think anyone listens on iTunes really
that's
anymore.
The thing. Ever since Spotify started their podcasting service, you know.
It's all in one place now.
Yep.
It's like Netflix in a sense, I guess. So guys, thank you very much. We'll catch you next week.
Cheers.
Losing weight fast while maintaining muscle mass. Sounds too good to be true, doesn't it? It isn't though. It's reality and we know how to do it. And we will help you achieve this. The Minicut Movement is an 8-week fat loss program to make you lose a huge chunk of fat while maintaining muscle mass at the same time. We will support you from the beginning to the end so that you see the results you would like to and come out of it much stronger. You'll receive a fully automated spreadsheet that is based on your nutritional needs. You can choose between 6 different male and female training templates. Over 30 videos will guide you through each and every single step of the Minicut so that you're getting the most out of your journey and that you always know what to do. But the best thing is that you can start whenever you want. The Minicut Movement is open 24/7. So if you want to learn more or you're ready to sign up, hit the link in the description below. So let's revive stronger together.